there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I'm going to show you how to make a really quick and easy watercolor card. We're going to paint some eggs in a nest, and what I have here is an unfolded watercolor card. It's got the little score line in the center. You can see that right there, but I'm going to leave it unfolded while I paint. I'm actually going to work upside down so it'll be right side up for you, but I think what I'm going to do first is actually draw my eggs right side up, get the composition in there. So basically what I'm doing is going to put 3 ovals, 1 in front and 2 in back. And then just some squiggly marks just to indicate where my nest is going to be. I'm just putting in no details, just a basic sketch there. Alright, so now I'm just going to leave that way for you to be able to see. If you want to have a nice white margin around, you can use some masking tape or some painter's tape to tape it down, but I prefer a rough edge. First thing I'm going to do is actually clean off the old paint off my palette here with a rag. So I have some room to mix some new colors. This is my travel set, and this is actually what I painted, what I like to use for watercolor cards, because I can put a few cards and my watercolor crayons and this little set of watercolors in a Ziploc bag, and I can go. So that's nice. I got a water brush here. That's what I'll be using. And first thing I'm going to do is just spritz my watercolor paint so they'll be ready to go. And I'm actually going to I'm just going to spritz a little water in the center there and then spread it around with my water brush. If I'm doing a big canvas, big paper, I would use a large wash brush for this, but this is just a very simple, quick and easy project. Now the reason I'm wetting the background is because the paint's only going to go where the background is wet. Now I want to just put in some kind of pastel-y colors. I'm going to use a little yellow ochre. And when you get these, this is Winsor & Newton Cotman Watercolor Travel Kit, and when you run out of the color, you can either replace it by buying half pans of color, or you can just squirt some in from your tube colors, and that's what I do most of the time. And I'm just going to throw in some color, and I will be zooming in just a moment so that you'll be able to see a little bit better. I want to have a little bit of pink in there. I could squeeze my brush and kind of rinse it out, wipe it on a scrap of paper to clean it. That's a little bright, so I'm going to add some water to that. And I'm also going to add some of these more pastel watercolor crayons because they tend to be a little bit lighter. I'm going to make my own little palette here with the lid of my watercolor crayon box. I don't think they make these anymore. They make the Caran d'Ache watercolor crayons, but I don't think they make these half stick sets anymore, which is a shame because they're really fabulous to use. So I'm just scribbling some of this out. Maybe some of this darker blue as well. I'm working on, I believe it's Canson watercolor cards. Throw a little bit of this pink in there, get a little bit on the eggs. And we'll just grab a scrap of paper honestly, use a scrap of paper, just squeeze out your brush, scribble it, or on a rag or something, that'll work just as well. Grab some of this blue. And we're actually working with the wet of the paper. Now when that blue mixes in with some of the yellow ochre, you're going to get more gray tones. What I'm going for is just really kind of natural shadows and highlights. And we're going to do this pretty much entirely wet into wet. Alright, so now we've got the background nice and wet. And I'm just going to give this a little bit of a second to dry, and to help it along I'm going to grab some paper towels and I'm just going to kind of blot out some highlights here. So hold on one moment. I'm back. My paper towels had walked across the basement over to the kids area. I'm just going to blot off a little bit of the water off the egg area, and then I'm going to grab some burnt sienna. I like that color, and I'm gonna have it pretty dry in my brush, and I'm just gonna kind of go in around the eggs to darken it up because we need some color in there for the technique that we're going to be doing. So I'm just gently kind of painting into the wet paper some marks that would kind of lead you to believe that they are straw. Is that clear enough for you? Some straw-like marks on the background. Now to darken that burnt sienna, I'm going to put in some ultramarine blue with it. I like the dark shadow color. It's almost a black that I can make with burnt sienna, because burnt sienna is almost an orange and ultramarine blue is obviously a blue, so together orange and blue are opposites and they make a nice dark, almost black, natural shadow color. I never use too black because it just looks so unnatural. And I'm going to go in with some of the yellow ochre watercolor crayon that I squeezed out, because that will be easier to scrape away in a moment when we go to add our highlights and shadows. Alright, and don't worry if you get some paint on the eggs. At this point you can lift it out with a scrunched up paper towel, just like that. Not a big deal, and we'll go in and add more definition to those eggs after it dries. So then when I first did this card, I was in a hotel room, and I just had my little kit here with me, and I had this little travel brush. See, you put it together like that to make a brush, and you can store it back in like that. And so that's all I had to do my scraping. So that's what I'm going to use here. You could use the end of a bevel end of a brush, you could use a stick, you could use a toothpick, whatever you have. And so what you want to do is just kind of make marks coming out away from the eggs like you've got a nest there. Now some of your marks will kind of scribe the paper and you'll end up with darker lines. Some of your marks you'll actually end up pushing the paint out of the way and you'll end up with highlights. I want a little more color in there. I don't think I have nearly enough to get the look I'm going for. So I'm going to go back in and actually add some more color. And where it picks up the scored lines, it's actually going to be darker. And as it dries, you see you'll get more control over your paint. But remember, this is just a fun kind of warm-up exercise. Don't try to control it too much. It's just a card. It's like a little painty fling, you know. It's no commitment. It's just a little watercolor card. If it's horrible, you can throw it away. If it's fabulous, you can mail it to somebody. If it's extra super duper fabulous, you could even frame it. Just get all those natural colors in there. You can. Oops, my hand was in the way. Sorry about that. And you could even go in with the pure sticks of the watercolor crayons and add some cool marks that way as well. I like the watercolor crayons because they're firmer than a pastel. You can kind of push your paint around with them and they leave some behind, but they also move some out of the way, so you just end up with a really cool effect. I'm going to do some brown too. My darker colors right around the eggs for some contrast. And then maybe go back in with a little more scribing just to get those really light white highlights, because that's really scraping right down to the paper. And I'm doing this upside down, keep in mind, so you'll be doing yours right side up. So you'll probably even have a better composition than I'm ending up with here, but you know, I just want you to see the technique of all this. Alright, so my eggs are relatively dry. What I'm going to do now, let's wipe off that crayon I had sitting in a puddle of water on my palette. I'm actually going to do some painting of the eggs. I'm going to clean off my brush, my water brush. This is what I usually take when I'm traveling because it's just convenient. I don't have to worry about having an open container of water. And I'm just kind of making some gray with colors on my palette, some yellow ochre and some blues. I'm just going to go in and paint the eggs that are in behind. Now look at this. I can redefine the edges of my eggs just by going in there with that wet brush, because this paper, these watercolor cards, have a lot of sizing in them and they're very forgiving with this sort of technique. I can go in right and round that right out. See that? As long as I haven't scraped up the paper with my scratching too much, I can go in and redefine my edges. Let's see. Oh, we're not even at 10 minutes yet. We are doing great today, folks. I want to warm up the color of the eggs, especially around the top. So let me just wipe away some of that kind of bled down on that front egg. Use a little yellow ochre. And this is a little awkward to do upside down, but I just want to add a little bit of that yellow ochre in there. And I think I want to cool off some of the eggs in the background, make them recede, so I'm going to add a little bit of that light blue. You know, it's funny, if you have hens, you know much about hens, there are several breeds that will actually lay slightly pastel colored eggs. I don't have those, I have Rhode Island Reds. But, so you can actually see eggs that have these really, really pale blue and pink tones to them. That's kind of cool. A little bit of pink in there, because I like pink, and you know what? The eggs are white, they're going to reflect whatever is around them. And they're your eggs, it's your painting. You can have lime green eggs if you want to. You can make them look like jelly beans. It's your picture. Nobody else tell you what to do with it. I like this rough edge on the outside of the painting. But if you don't like that, you can always paint it right out to the side or use masking tape to mask off a nice definite border. I'm cleaning up my edges there. Now at this point, what I think I'm going to do is, rather than fuss with it more, I'm going to dry it with my heat gun, because my hair dryer crapped the bed on me the other day. And I'll be right back, and we're going to add some details. So I'm going to go dry this off and come right back. Hello again, I'm back. I've dried off my paper. A little tip there, dry it from the top, then dry it from the back, and that will take out any warping. Alright, so I just basically want to refine my design so my eggs look a little smoother. And I'm going to go in with my water brush. See, the nice thing about watercolor, and people get kind of uptight about it because they think, well, I can't control it, it's just crazy, and I mess it up, and the more I do to it, the worse it looks. You know what? That's the thing. Usually the more you do to it, the worse it looks. So you just want to kind of do that bare minimum that, you know, and stop before it gets bad. And I've got to, it's okay to turn your paper, your canvas, so that you can approach your painting from the right angle. So what I'm doing is I've moved it because I wanted to kind of attack it from this side. And what I'm doing is giving a nice smooth line here. And I just really want to define that front egg first. And then while the paint is still wet, I'm just going to kind of pull some grassy lines out to help it blend in with what I already have going on there. I got a little lopsided of an egg, but I'm not going to worry about it. It's just a watercolor card. Mix myself up a little bit more of that burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. So when people ask me, you know, what do I need to get started in watercolor, I say, there's 8 colors I really like to have. I like to have a warm and cool version of each primary. So I like to have like a alizarin crimson for a cool red, cadmium red for a warm red. I like to have ultramarine blue for a warm blue, phthalo blue for a cool blue. I like to have lemon yellow for a cool yellow, and cadmium yellow for a warm yellow, or new gamboge. Either one. New gamboge can be, actually old gamboge was faded. You know they used to make that out of horse pee, isn't that crazy? New gamboge isn't made of horse pee, so that's good. Yay. No animal cruelty. And I like to have sap green because it's a lovely green, very hard to duplicate, and because it's got some lovely granulation. And I like burnt sienna because I can make my own black with burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. I find that color palette to be very versatile. And, you know, watercolor paint will last a long time. So you can even go and buy the pricey bottles of watercolor, pricey tubes of watercolor paint, and it's going to last you quite a long time. But if the cost is prohibitive, if that is really worrying you that you're wasting some money and you're not going to get use out of it, start out with like a student kit. Like the Reeves brand makes a decent paint. It's very inexpensive. Yeah, it might fade over time, but you know what? It's very easy to lift. It's very easy to work with. It's going to give you nice results. And if it fades a little over time, so what? You're just learning. This is your first, you know, your first steps, your baby steps into watercolor. So, you know, by the time you've used up that first set of paints, for one thing, you're going to know what colors you like to use a lot. So as you use up a color, replace it with a more expensive, higher quality brand. And you're not going to have that fear of wasting your materials because they're inexpensive. So I would recommend starting off with like a brand like Reeves or Cotman. I mean, this is a student grade paint, and look, it's just fine. It's fine for a watercolor card that I'm probably going to mail off to my mother or something. No offense, Mom. Not that, you know, I would spend for the most awesomest paints for you, but you know, it's a card. And I've just completely lost my train of thought, but you get the picture. I mean, basically, you know, if spending a lot of money on paint, you know, makes you uptight about painting, then spend less money on paint, learn your craft, and then, you know, replace it with higher quality supplies. There's so many art snobs out there, and that really irritates me because you can really put somebody off on wanting to learn. And, you know, I want to share what I know. I don't think it's cool to hoard your information, your talent, or your knowledge. That's not cool. You know, this is this day and age, you know, free sharing of ideas. World according to Lindsay. How nice. I'm lifting here. That's what you call this, when you kind of remove some paint to define an edge. I'm just kind of going in there. This isn't the best brush to lift with, but I'm showing you what you can do with one brush. This is a water brush. This one is, I think this is, honestly, I don't know. The Niji brush is good. The Koi water brush is good. I got this at ASW. I got like a set of 4 for, I don't know, $10 or something. It's not an expensive brush. I like that it holds the water, and I can have it on the go with me, and it's, you know, mess free, and I can sit in the living room and paint a picture while I'm watching Doctor Who at night. Ooh, woo, woo, woo. Do, 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 do. Where else will you get the Doctor Who theme sang to you while you have a painting tutorial? Only here, folks. I'm pretty sure. Only here. Well, you know what? I'm gonna call that good. I'm gonna call it a day. I think it looks just fine. Oh, so, you know, when you buy those watercolor cards, I get the bulk packs of like 25 or 50 or 100, I don't know, probably 100. I get quite a few of them at a time. You end up with an envelope. You end up, it just happens. Wow, an envelope. Oh, I'm silly. I gotta go shopping today. I hate shopping. So one thing I like to do is just grab one of the colors that are on my palette so I don't waste it, and I just do a little swipe across the decal edge on the back. And if I'm feeling so inclined, I might do a little paint something on the front. What shall we paint? I don't know. Gosh, you're putting me on the spot here. How about we paint a little flower? And what are we at? We're at, so I got like a couple minutes to do a little little flower. Aren't we lovely? Painting flower on an envelope. Those are petals, in case it's not painfully clear. And a little stem, and maybe a little leaf there. Oh my gosh, can you believe you're still watching? Is anybody still watching? Somehow I doubt that they are. Well, you know, there you have it. We got it. You know what I also like to do? I like to splatter some paint. I don't know why, I just, you know what? Come to think of it, I think I've got to splatter some on the card. It needs to be juicier though, because it doesn't nearly have enough pink in it. Card's not really a card. It's not one of my cards, so I've splattered the heck out of it with some color. Oh, yes, I love that. It's so fun. And a little brown. What are we doing for time? Oh my gosh, I got a minute and a half. I haven't figured out how to change the auto shut off on my camera yet, so it shuts off at 20 minutes, so luckily you won't be bored with more than 20 minutes of any given Lindsay video. I probably shouldn't look into that further. Probably keep that. Let's see what we got. Oh, we're doing good. We're doing fine. We're gonna do a little green in there. I'm gonna call it a day. I'm running out of water here. I need to refill. Oh, I just love to splatter paint. See, this is the point where I tend to go a little overboard. Alright, so I'm going to call that good. I hope I haven't got any paint on the camera lens. So there we got a little matching envelope with room to write our address on. That on that side, a little pretty decollete edge. And we got our lovely card with maybe some gratuitous paint splatters. You be the judge. That's all I have for you today. I want to thank you so very much for watching. Give me a thumbs up. It looks like a thumbs down because I'm upside down, but it's a thumbs up if you like it. And subscribe and you won't miss any other fabulous videos. If you like these and you want to see more watercolor tutorials, just drop me a line because I can do that. I like to paint. It's fun. Sharing is caring. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.